Get out of the house. It's mine now, he said, standing there like he owned the place. My robe, my whiskey, my wife. And not just standing smirking. His name? Tyler. The kind of guy who probably flexes in mirrors at gas stations and thinks a six-pack gives him permission to steal another man's life. I didn't blink. Just stepped closer. The air was heavy, like the calm before a hurricane. I stared him down and said, pack your stuff, sign my papers, take her, and move to Morocco to live your dream, or stay here, and I'll make sure you both regret it. He hesitated. She didn't. Madison, my wife of 6 years, didn't even flinch. She just sat on the couch, legs crossed, her lips curled into that smug little smile she thought made her look superior. That's when I knew. She was gone. Not physically, she was still there, dressed like a teenager going to Coachella, but the woman I married had been replaced by this cold, calculating brat with no soul behind her eyes. The door slammed behind me, my hand did that. I didn't wait for a reaction. I knew the sound would echo through their heads for days. But what I did next, that's where this story begins. Rewind. 2 weeks earlier. The first crack in the illusion. It was a Tuesday. She never wore perfume on Tuesdays. Said it was her reset day. But that morning, as she brushed past me in the kitchen, I caught a whiff of something floral and expensive. Not just perfume, new perfume. The kind that says, notice me. Want me? New scent. I asked casually, watching her pour almond milk into her smoothie like she wasn't hiding something behind those fake lashes. She didn't even pause. Sample from a coworker. Nothing serious. And then she kissed me on the cheek, quick, mechanical, and walked out the door. Except, her office was in the opposite direction. I followed. Not like a creep, like a man with instincts that had been numb for too long and suddenly screamed awake. She didn't drive to the agency where she worked in HR. She drove past it, all the way across town, to some high-rise condo building I'd never seen before. She went inside and didn't come out for 3 hours. 3 hours. On a workday. In heels she never wore for me. That night, she came home and told me traffic was brutal and that her boss was riding her all afternoon. The way she said it made me flinch. Something in her tone, cold, careless, like she enjoyed lying to me. I didn't say a word. Just nodded. But inside, my stomach turned with a sick clarity. I was sleeping next to a stranger. The next few days were a slow drip of poison. Her phone never left her hand. She'd turn it over any time I walked by. Rookie move. I stopped trying to talk to her. Every sentence out of her mouth was either a complaint, a deflection, or some passive-aggressive dig. I could take the silence. It was the disrespect that burned. And then came the photo. Friday, 3:14 p.m. My buddy Nathan, works in real estate, texts me. Nathan, yo, I think I just saw your wife. Wasn't she supposed to be in Chicago this weekend? Attached was a photo. Not grainy. Not accidental. Clear as daylight. Madison, sitting outside a rooftop bar. Red dress. Leaning into a guy. Laughing with her head thrown back. Her hand on his chest. His hand on her thigh. Tyler. I didn't need confirmation. I didn't even need a name. The look in her eyes was enough. That look used to be for me. That night, I didn't sleep. I watched the minutes tick by. I heard the garage door open at 2:08 a.m., heard her heels click down the hallway. She slipped into bed like nothing happened. Did you have fun in Chicago? I asked. A pause. Long enough to hang herself. It was, yeah, quiet. Needed that. Then she turned her back to me. I stared at the ceiling for hours. She didn't know what was coming. The confrontation happened 2 days later. I came home early. Door unlocked. Voices upstairs. Laughter. Her laugh, that same damn laugh from the rooftop photo. I walked up slowly. Each step felt like a countdown to something I'd never come back from. And there he was. Tyler. Wearing my robe. Drinking my Glenlivet. Speaking in my bedroom. And Madison? She didn't even look shocked. Just said, you weren't supposed to be home until 6. As if I was inconveniencing her affair. That's when he said it. Get out of the house, it's mine now. He didn't expect the smile that spread across my face. Because that was the moment I stopped being the fool and started writing the rest of this story. I said what I said. And slammed the door. But it wasn't over. What I did next would tear their world apart. I didn't go far. Just sat in my car, parked 2 houses down, engine off, phone in hand, and the silence pounding like war drums in my ears. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from rage that had finally crystallized into purpose. Madison thought this was over. That I'd just walk away, take my bruised pride, and disappear. She didn't know me. Not the real me. The man behind the calm voice, the one who stayed silent while she lied to my face. That man had died the moment Tyler slipped into my robe. I stared at the front of the house. My house. And suddenly, I wasn't heartbroken. I was cold. It started with the phone call. I dialed Tony. My cousin. Works in private security, the type of guy who doesn't ask why, just how soon. Tony. I need cameras out of the house. Full system disabled. Don't ask questions. Done, he said. You good? I will be. Next call, my lawyer. We talked once before, just a consultation, back when things were weird, but not imploding. I'd asked about prenups. She laughed when I brought it up, said it was a rich guy's fantasy. Turns out I should have fought harder for that. Brandon, my lawyer said. You sure you want to go nuclear? I looked at the house again, their shadows flickering through the blinds. I'm already pushing the button. I waited until nightfall. Madison texted me once around 9 p.m. Madison, you're being dramatic. Come get your stuff tomorrow. Tyler's staying a few nights. My jaw clenched. She wasn't even pretending to apologize. She was marking territory. Like this wasn't just cheating, it was a hostile takeover. So I made my move. I still had the garage code. They hadn't changed it. Amateurs. I entered through the back door. Quiet. Swift. And with a small black bag in hand. The bedroom was empty. Good. Downstairs, their laughter echoed. Watching Netflix, eating my snacks, sinking into my leather couch like they belonged there. I planted one camera behind the lamp on the dresser. Another inside the fake air vent I'd installed years ago during renovations. The last one, a tiny button-sized lens, under the kitchen island. Motion sensitive. Audio enabled. Sync straight to my cloud. Before leaving, I walked into the closet. Half of it was still mine. I grabbed only one thing, the box. Inside was a sealed manila envelope with receipts, printouts, screenshots. A file I'd been building the past week. Everything from hotel bookings to suggestive texts she thought she'd deleted. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to document. Let her laugh now. The next morning, I sent her a message. Me, house transfer papers are coming today. I suggest you start packing. No reply. Of course not. She'd probably throw it in Tyler's face, expecting me to beg or crawl back. But when the documents arrived, couriered, signed, timestamped, I knew it would rattle her. These weren't empty threats. I wasn't bluffing. By afternoon, she called. No, hi. Just, are you serious with this divorce crap? I've never been more serious. You're overreacting. It was just a phase. I wasn't thinking clearly. Funny, I said. You looked very clear in those rooftop pictures. Silence. Then, what else do you have? There it was, the crack. The fear. She wasn't sorry, she was worried. I smiled. Enough to make you wish you'd never touched him. And I hung up. That night, I watched them live on my phone screen. Tyler pacing. Madison yelling. She threw a pillow. He threw back a whiskey glass. It shattered. Perfect. I clipped the footage. Saved it. Filed it under Chapter 2. Because this story? It wasn't ending in heartbreak. It was just getting started. By the third night, watching them became routine, like a twisted Netflix series where I already knew the ending, but the slow unravel was the real thrill. They weren't lovers anymore. Not really. The tension was thick. Madison paced the hallway like a caged animal. Tyler had that nervous energy of a man who realized too late he'd walked into a trap. He wasn't wearing my robe anymore. The robe was in the trash bin on the driveway. I saw it that morning when I drove past with sunglasses and a baseball cap. It was stained with what looked like coffee and ash, like they tried to burn it and gave up halfway. That was Madison. Start chaos, lose interest halfway, then blame someone else for the mess. She texted me again that night. Madison, you're enjoying this, aren't you? Me, I'm watching art in motion. No reply. Saturday afternoon, I sent the photos to her father. No words, no explanation, just the images of her with Tyler, the rooftop, the hallway kiss, the hotel check-in log. Let him process it without my commentary. Madison once told me her dad worshipped her. Time to test that. 2 hours later, he called. Brandon, what the hell is this? Truth. Is this recent? 3 weeks ago. While she was in Chicago. Silence. Then he said something that hit harder than I expected. She used to be better than this. That sentence stuck with me all night. Used to be. I wondered how long she'd been slipping. How long I'd been blind. Or maybe she was never what I thought. Maybe she just wore a better mask before. Sunday morning. Church bells in the distance. Madison used to go. She stopped when she met Tyler. Said it made her feel judged. I checked the footage. They were fighting again. She threw a glass of orange juice at him. It hit the wall and dripped like blood down the white paint. He shouted something about her being ungrateful. She said, "You're just a toy I got bored of." I paused the video, sat in silence. That sentence, it hit too close. That was me once. I called Tony again. "Need another favor," I said. "Same house." "Yeah. This time I want the locks changed. While they're out, you'll have a tower window. I'll get you the schedule." Madison still used her old calendar app. She never removed my access. Rookie mistake number 5. Monday at 3 p.m., they had a brunch with Jessica scheduled. Jessica didn't exist. That was her code for spa and wine with Tyler. Perfect window. I coordinated with Tony. Got the locksmith. Paid cash. Silent, clean, legal. At 4:45 p.m., I received a call. Unknown number. I picked up. "What the hell did you do?" Madison screamed. "Oh," I said calmly. "I believe the term is changing the locks. Owners do that sometimes. You can't just lock us out." "I can." And I did. Everything in that house, the deed, the bills, the title, is in my name. "You don't live there anymore, sweetheart." Tyler took the phone. "You psycho, we'll sue." "You're welcome to try. But while you're at it, tell me, how's Morocco looking this time of year?" He went silent. I hung up. I knew it was petty. I knew it was vengeance. And I didn't care. That house wasn't just brick and wood. It was 6 years of sacrifice, of swallowing insults, of late nights waiting for her to come home and pretending I didn't smell cologne that wasn't mine. Now it was my stage. And I was taking back the script. That night, I left an envelope on the doorstep. Inside, the key to the guest house 3 blocks away. The same place Madison once called too small for someone like me. A sticky note on top. "Stay there. Quietly. Sign the divorce. No drama. Or I release everything." I didn't need revenge. I needed freedom. And I was almost there. Madison always had this way of turning every conversation into a performance. She could look you in the eye, smile, and lie through her teeth like she was reading from a script she wrote in her sleep. And I used to fall for it. Every damn time. But not anymore. I waited 3 days. No calls. No texts. Silence. It was the kind of silence that screams louder than shouting, a calm before another betrayal. I knew her too well to think she'd give up. Madison wasn't wired that way. If she couldn't win the war, she'd try to burn the whole battlefield. And right on cue, she showed up at my office on Thursday, wearing a tight black dress like it was still her weapon. Hair curled, makeup perfect, smile painted across her face like nothing ever happened. My assistant buzzed me. There's a Madison here to see you. Says it's urgent." I cracked my knuckles, leaned back, and said, "Send her in." She walked in like she owned the building. "I just want to talk," she said, her voice soft, her eyes watery, the kind of performance that would have broken me 2 months ago. I didn't even blink. "You've got 5 minutes." She sat down, crossed her legs, and began the act. "I made a mistake. I know I hurt you. But Tyler doesn't mean anything." I was lost. I felt ignored. I didn't know how to say it. I raised a hand. "Stop." She froze. "Let's skip the script," I said. "Because I've read this one before. And the ending sucks." She dropped the fake sadness immediately. Face tightened. Eyes narrowed. "You think you're the victim? You were never around. You buried yourself in work." I was lonely. Tyler listened. "Tyler wanted what he couldn't earn," I said calmly. "And you gave it to him on a silver plate." She scoffed. "You're not perfect. Don't act like you are." I stood up slowly, walked to the door, held it open. "Madison, you didn't just cheat. You betrayed. That's worse. That's deeper." Her voice cracked. But this time, it wasn't acting. "What do you want from me?" I looked her in the eye. "Honesty. And you're fresh out." She left in silence. That night, I watched the guest house footage. She was crying. Real tears. Tyler wasn't there. She'd thrown a picture frame. It cracked against the wall, a photo of us in Santorini from 5 years ago. I remember that trip. I carried her down marble stairs because her heels broke. She called it the most romantic thing I ever did. Now it was shattered glass. I should have felt something. Instead, I poured a drink, turned off the screen, and let the silence surround me. 2 days later, she tried again. This time, a letter, handwritten. Left in my mailbox, no stamp. It was long. 6 pages. Rambling. Half apology, half blame shifting. She wrote things like, I don't know when we stopped being us. I hated how cold you became. Tyler made me feel seen. But the part that stuck with me? I didn't think you'd actually let me go. That told me everything I needed to know. Madison didn't love me. She loved the version of me that forgave her lies. The version who ignored the lipstick stains on receipts, the late nights, the perfume. She loved control. And I had taken it away. Monday morning, I filed the final divorce documents. Everything was ready. Split down the middle. She got the car she adored. I kept the house. No alimony. No second chances. I emailed her. Papers filed. Sign or face exposure. Your choice. An hour later, she replied. You win. But she was wrong. This wasn't about winning. It was about freedom. And for the first time in 6 years, I was finally breathing clean air again. By Tuesday, the papers were signed. I didn't have to see her. Didn't want to. Her signature arrived as a PDF in my inbox, neat and cold, like she was just closing a subscription, not 6 years of marriage. There was no, I'm sorry, no final words, no handwritten note tucked into the envelope. Just her name at the bottom, in that sharp cursive I used to trace with my finger while she slept. I stared at it for a minute, longer than I should have. Then hit download, saved it under a folder called Freedom, and deleted the email without blinking. It was over. Legally, at least. Emotionally? That was a different battlefield entirely. Wednesday night, I found myself sitting alone at the same bar where we had our first real date. It wasn't planned. I just ended up there, like muscle memory took over the steering wheel. The bartender didn't recognize me. Too many years, too many changed lines on my face. But I remembered that booth in the corner. I remembered Madison laughing at a dumb joke I told about office printers. I remembered her hand on mine, the way she played with the sleeve of my jacket like she didn't want to let go. Back then, she looked at me like I was the only man in the world. Now she looked at me like I was an obstacle. I ordered 2 whiskeys. One for me, one for the ghost. And I drank both. The days that followed were weird. Not painful, not peaceful, just strange. I'd wake up expecting her side of the bed to be messy. It wasn't. I kept it clean now. I'd reach for the toothpaste and remember she hated when I squeezed from the middle. Now I did it on purpose. Little rebellions. Her clothes were gone. Her scent was fading. But the silence, that stayed. I filled it with music. Podcasts. The occasional TV show I never had time to watch. But nothing filled the space. You know, the kind, that heavy, invisible space where someone used to be. Then came the text. Tyler, we're done. She's all yours again. Just like that. I stared at the screen, laughed out loud, tossed my phone on the couch and poured myself a drink. She burned her bridge, and he left her in the ashes. Not my problem anymore. But here's the thing. As much as I told myself I didn't care, part of me did. Not for her. For the truth. I needed to know why Tyler was everything she claimed to hate. Flashy. Broke. A walking cliché. I was the one who worked late so she could quit her job. I paid for her mother's surgery. I stayed loyal even when she gave me every reason not to. So I called her. She picked up on the second ring. Brandon, I want one thing, I said. Truth. One sentence. Why Silence. Then, softly, because he made me feel dangerous. And I wanted to hurt you. It hit harder than I expected. Not because she said it. Because it felt true. She didn't cheat for love. She cheated for power. For the thrill of shattering something good just to see what it sounded like. I said nothing. Just hung up. That night, I opened the Santorini photo. The one she'd smashed against the wall. I scanned our faces. She was already fading in mine. But I looked happy. Whole. That man was still in there, buried under betrayal, waiting for his chance to resurface. And now that the wreckage was cleared, he could finally breathe again. I wasn't healing for her. I was healing despite her. The truth had its own kind of sting. Because he made me feel dangerous. And I wanted to hurt you. Those words didn't just sit with me, they dug in. Not like a knife. Knives are quick, clean. This was slower. Like rust spreading under paint, eating away at something you thought was solid. She wanted to hurt me. Not because I did something wrong. Not because I failed her. But because I made her feel safe, and to someone like Madison, safety meant boredom. By Friday, I started sleeping through the night again. No dreams. No midnight jolts with sweat-soaked sheets. Just silence. And waking up to myself. That might sound like nothing, but after months of suspicion, months of forcing smiles through gritted teeth, waking up alone felt like peace. The guest house? She moved out. Left it trashed. Empty wine bottles. Burned out candles. One of my shirts, crumpled on the floor like a discarded souvenir from a life she never appreciated. Tony called me that morning. She's out. You want me to clean it or burn it? Clean it, I said. Let the fire be symbolic. A week passed. Then two. No contact. No calls. No desperate messages. No fake apologies wrapped in nostalgia. She was either licking her wounds or lighting someone else's world on fire. I didn't care. Well, mostly. Because just when I thought it was all behind me, Madison found one last way to spit in my face. I was at the gym when I got the email. Subject line: request for testimonial, new hire background. I almost deleted it until I saw the name. Tyler Grant. She gave him a job. Not just any job, my job. At my old partner's firm. She convinced someone to bring him in as a junior consultant. The same guy who stood in my living room wearing my robe, now listed as a rising analytical talent. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped the weights. She didn't just cheat and lie. Now she was repackaging her boy toy as a success story, trying to ride his half-naked ambition into respectability. I forwarded the email to my friend at the firm, Dave. Tyler Grant? You serious? Dave called me 30 minutes later. Dude, I had no idea. I thought he was just some intern with good references. He's already messed up 2 client calls. Yeah, I said. That's about his speed. Want me to pull the plug? I hesitated. I had the power, but I didn't need revenge anymore. Let him hang himself, I said. Just make sure he's on speakerphone when he does. But Madison? She wasn't done. Saturday evening, I got a knock on the door. There she was. No makeup. Hair tied back. Holding a shoebox. What is it? I asked. She handed it to me. Just stuff I found. Yours. I opened it right there on the porch. Inside, an old watch, my cufflinks, a Polaroid from our anniversary, a tie she used to call Mike closer. And one more thing. A necklace I bought her on our 3rd year. The one she said she'd never take off. Thought it was yours, she said. It was. Until you gave it back. I didn't invite her in. I didn't ask how she was doing. I just stood there. You okay? She asked finally. I met her eyes. I'm getting there. She nodded. Well, I hope he makes you happy. He's me, I said. Just without you. She didn't reply. Just walked off into the dark, the sound of her heels disappearing down the street. That night, I didn't cry. Didn't scream. Didn't pour a drink. I sat with the box on my lap, watching an old movie we both loved, but she always talked through. This time, I heard every word. Because the silence wasn't empty anymore. It was earned. Sunday morning brought rain, not the light kind that taps windows gently, but the kind that pounds rooftops and soaks through everything. A fitting backdrop for what I did next. I took the box Madison gave me, the watch, the cufflinks, the photos, the tie, the necklace, and drove up to Pine Hill. It was the place we once talked about buying land on, back when dreams still came with "we" attached. She wanted a garden. I wanted silence. Now, all that was left was mud and wind. I brought a shovel. Call it symbolic. Call it crazy. But I dug a hole, just deep enough to swallow memories, and laid every item in, one by one. The watch? Tickless. The cufflinks? Dull. The tie? Wrinkled. The photo? Smiling liars. The necklace? Cold. And then, I set them on fire. The flame struggled in the rain, but it caught, enough to melt, to blacken, to destroy what used to mean everything. I stood there, hoodie soaked, arms folded, eyes dry. I didn't burn them because I hated her. I burned them because I loved her. And I couldn't afford to anymore. On my way down the hill, I got a message from her best friend, Claire. Of all people, Claire had stayed quiet through everything, loyal to Madison to a fault. But this time, she broke protocol. Claire, I know it's none of my business, but I thought you should know she's been telling people you abused her emotionally. I pulled over. Read the message again. Then again. Abuse? The word echoed in my skull like a gunshot. That's what she was spreading now? After everything? After the lies, the betrayal, the invasion of my home? She was rewriting history, painting me as the villain so she wouldn't have to face her own reflection. I called Claire. Is she serious? Claire sounded tired. Brandon, she's spiraling. She's not the same. She's never been, I said. I just refused to see it. Claire paused. I didn't want to believe it either. But she's lost. Whatever light she had is gone. I'm not surprised, I said. Just disappointed. I'm sorry. Don't be. You told me. That counts. That night, I sat at my desk, opened a blank document, and I started writing. Not a revenge post, not a rant, just the truth. What it felt like, what it cost me, how it crept in slowly, how love didn't die in a day, but in 1,000 ignored details. I wrote for hours, poured out every cut she left on my soul. I didn't hold back, but I didn't hate either. By the time I was done, it was 4 a.m., and I felt lighter. I never published it, never shared it. It wasn't for the world. It was for me, to reclaim the story before someone else painted it with their poison. The following week, I got the call from Dave again. "Tyler's out," he said. "Messed up the Jenkins account. Tried to blame the secretary. HR said he was late 4 times this week. Fired this morning." I let out a breath. Not satisfaction, just closure. "Guess that Morocco dream's still on hold," I said. Dave laughed. "Probably applying to reality shows now. Hope he wins." Funny thing about healing, it doesn't come in big moments. It sneaks in when you're not looking. Like when you laugh at a stupid commercial, or when you sleep through the night without checking your phone, or when you delete her number without flinching. I wasn't bitter. I was better. And tomorrow? Tomorrow was mine again. 2 months had passed since everything fell apart. It wasn't the closure I expected. It wasn't the grand, dramatic ending where everything clicked into place. Life didn't give you a nice, tidy bow when it decided to rip your world apart. But I was starting to realize that wasn't the point. The point was that I was still here, still standing. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe. I woke up to the sound of birds, not alarms. The sunlight crept through the blinds, casting long shadows across my apartment. A normal day. Not a normal day, but normal enough to feel like it could be the beginning of something new. Madison's absence no longer left an empty hole in the air. It wasn't like I'd forgotten her, no. But the spaces she used to fill with noise and chaos had become peaceful now. Quiet, but not hollow. There was room for me again. Room for what I wanted to become. Not who I was in relation to her, but who I was on my own. I still had moments when her ghost crept in. When I caught myself thinking about what went wrong, what I could have done differently, what it felt like to be lied to. But those moments became less frequent, less consuming. They weren't my moments anymore. They were just memories of a life that wasn't mine anymore. I spent most of my days reconfiguring my business. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about thriving. I hired a new team, a team I trusted, a team that knew how to execute, how to build. There were no more just surviving days. And I got my peace back in small things. Waking up at 6 a.m. because I wanted to, not because someone else's schedule dictated mine. Filling my fridge with food I liked. Watching TV shows without feeling like I had to justify them. Saying yes to spontaneous plans without overthinking. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about getting her back. It was about getting me back. One evening, as the city lit up beneath me, I stood on my balcony looking at the skyline. I remembered when I used to look at it with Madison and how she used to talk about everything we would do together, about the future we would build. I had believed her. I had believed in us. But belief wasn't enough. I wasn't naive anymore. And I wasn't going to be anyone's second choice or a stepping stone for their selfish needs. I'd spent too long being her anchor while she drifted away. Now, I was learning to sail alone. Then, out of nowhere, I got a text. "Madison, I don't know if you'll read this, but I think about you. I think about how I ruined us. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel or what I'm supposed to do now. I just wanted you to know that I know I hurt you. And I'm sorry." I stared at it for a moment. I could feel the weight of her apology like a stone dropped into calm water. It didn't splash. It sank quietly. But I didn't respond. Not because I wasn't tempted. Not because I didn't care. But because I knew, after all this time, that some things didn't need to be answered. Some things were just too late. I had no ill will toward her. But I wasn't going to let her string me along anymore. I had been enough for her once. Now, I needed to be enough for me. I went to bed that night with a quiet smile. For the first time in what felt like forever, there was no darkness in my thoughts. No regret. No weight of what could have been. I had done the hard work, not to get back at her, not to punish her, but to rebuild myself. I was moving forward. I woke up the next morning, as I did every day now, knowing that today was a new opportunity. I wasn't stuck in the past anymore. I wasn't trapped by her lies or her absence. I had forged my own path, one where I controlled the steps I took, the way I moved, the way I grew. Life had a way of kicking you in the teeth and leaving you on your knees. But the real victory wasn't in how you fell, it was in how you got back up. And I was standing taller than ever before. Tomorrow was mine. And I was going to take it, one step at a time.